Okay, so we're going to do just a little bit of work dividing fractions. We've been drawing pictures, but now we're going to use the common denominator method. First thing we're going to check is if we have any mixed numbers. If we have a mixed number, you have to make it improper. If you're not sure how to do that, check out some of the videos on how to do that. Next, we're going to check to see if there's a common denominator. In this case, there is a common denominator, so we don't have to worry about that. 5 and 5 are common denominators, so that makes it easy. If we didn't have a common denominator, that is the second thing we're going to do after checking for a mixed number. Okay, so just like in multiplying, we're going to multiply across when we multiply. In dividing, we're going to divide across if we have a common denominator. So, please lay it out exactly the like I am showing you, because it will help you keep everything straight. Also, there's a couple things that we need to make sure you understand before we go on. One, if you have a fraction with the same number as the numerator and denominator, that always equals 1. It doesn't matter if it's 201 over 201, it equals 1. It can be 5 over 5, it equals 1. Just think about what the fraction represents. The denominator means that I am cutting whatever it up into 5 pieces, or 5 segments, or 5 chunks, whatever you want to think that as. And the top number means how many do I get or eat or have. So if I have 5, my thing cut up into 5 pieces, and I eat all 5, I eat a whole. That is why that works. The other thing you need to know is if I have anything over 1, that means that I cut up my thing into 1 piece. If I have a pizza, it is 1 piece. If I have 3 things cut up in 1 piece, I have 3 things, 3 wholes. So anything over 1 is that thing. Even if it's a fraction, 3/4 over 1 equals 3/4. If I have a 3/4 piece cut up into 1 segment, that piece is itself. Okay, so that is a common understanding that you have to have. All right? And we've went over this many times in class. All right, so now let's go back here. 4 divided by 2. I'm just going to write that just like this. And I can do this. I can have a fraction within a fraction. You've probably never seen that before, except for class, but you can do that. This just means 4 over 2 divided by 5 over 5. Okay, now that really is the answer. All we have to do is simplify. So all I did was go across. 4 divided by 2, 4 divided by 2, 5 divided by 5. Just like in multiplication, nothing is changing here. As long as we have a common denominator, this is solid math. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite this 4 over 2 because I'm going to take care of the bottom first. Just like when I taught you to do PEMDAS, or order of operations, one step at a time, rewrite it. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. So I did one step, I rewrote it. Now we're going to do another one. I'm going to do one step, and I'm going to rewrite it. Anything over 1, look at this, anything over 1 is that thing. So now I can rewrite this again. Okay, now we're getting into a fraction that looks pretty normal. 4 divided by 2. How many 2's go into 4? How many 2's go into 4? Well, 2. Okay, now let's draw. We've been drawing pictures, so let's draw a picture. We're going to first start out with our first fraction, because what this really means is how many 2/5 go into 4/5. So let's draw our 4/5. So I'm going to draw a board, and this will be 0. And I'm going to need 5 segments. So I'm going to draw 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, that's pretty even. Okay, so this is going to be 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5, and 5/5 is 1, which makes sense. 0 and our everything together would be 1. One whole is 5 segments. Okay, and we have 4 of those. So I'm going to highlight 4 because that's how much we have. We'll have 4 of the 5. Okay. Now, how many 2/5 go into it? So we need to count 2/5. So we're going to start here, and we're going to count 2/5. 1/5, 2/5. 1/5, 2/5. There we go. There's our segments. Now let's draw our pieces. So this is 1 2/5 segment. And here's 2 2/5 segments. And these are 2/5. 2/5. Right? If we did that, each one of those would be 1/5. 1/5. 2/5 together. So how many can go into this? 2. Does that match? Yes, it does. So our picture matches. Now, if you get stuck on a test, absolutely draw your pictures. Okay? Let's do another one. All right. So now these do not have the same denominator, and I'm going to show you how you should lay this out, because laying it out is almost as important as the problem, because if you don't lay it out right, you get messy. You know that you have stuff all over, and it's hard to follow. So we go down and we go over. That's how you lay these out. So this one does not have the same denominator. So we're going to do that first. Okay, so I want the same denominator. I could use LCM to figure that out. LCM, just go right down your multiplication table. 4 times 1 is 4. 8 times 1 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And we don't have to go any further because I already see the lowest common denominator right there. And it is 8. So I'm going to use 8. I'm going to get both of these to 8. 4 times 2 is 8. Also, draw the 2 just like this. Do the 2. 4 times 2 is 8, just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 8 down there, and I'm going to go 3 times 2 is 6. So there is my common denominator, divided by 1/8. And then I'm going to go that way, just like I showed you before. So we're going to go over, and we're going to do the next step. So now we have the same common denominator. We're going to divide across. Divide across. 6 divided by 1. 6 divided by 1. Put your line. 8 divided by 8. One step at a time. Draw one step at a time. Okay, so we divided across. 6 divided by 1. 8 divided by 8. Now all we have to do is simplify. Do one step at a time. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Rewrite. Now I know some of you are saying, why do I have to keep rewriting this? Because it helps secure your thinking. It helps concrete what is actually happening. We're dividing this all over 1. That's what a common denominator gives us. So now we have 6. We have 6 over 1, and that equals 6 over 1. Right? We can get rid of the 1 because anything over 1 is itself. Now we have another 1. We can get rid of that. Okay, so our final answer is 6. Now let's check it by looking at the drawing. This asks how many eighths go into 3/4. How many eighths go into 3/4? All right, here's my 3/4. 1, 2, 3. And there's a quarter. So 1, 2, 3. There's my 3/4. How many eighths go into there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It works. Okay, now about this time, a student usually asks, well, what about? So let's do a what about. let's do a hard one. This is probably as hard as it's going to get for you. 3/4 divided by 4. Now go back to your make sure you review your notes. What is the first thing we got to check for? Mixed numbers. Do we have any? No. Do we have a common denominator? No. So let's get that first. 3/4 divided by 4, and I have to make this a fraction. How can I make a whole number a fraction? Put it over 1. 4 over 1 is the same as 4, so now I have a fraction. Now I can make it a common denominator. All right, what is going to be my common denominator? Well, I can see that I have a 1 here, so I'm just going to times this by 4. If I don't know what the common denominator is, do LCM. Excuse me. So now rewrite. We're going down and then over. So keep going down until you have a common denominator. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 is 4. All right, now we go over. So go down and then go over. Keep everything nice and neat. You can show your steps. People can see what you're doing. Okay, so 4 divided by 4 and 3 divided by 16. Also keep these in order. You cannot change the order, and you can't put 16 over 3. It always goes this way. 3 over 16. Inside, outside. We talked about this before too. 3 over 16 over 4 over 4. Now we're going to take and simplify. So let's take and get rid of this first. 4 over 4 is the same as 1. And then we have 3/16. Now anything over 1 is itself. 3/16. Now we have to ask, can we reduce this? No, we can't. 3 does not go into 16. And can we make a mixed number? No, we can't. So this is our answer. So it doesn't even get that hard when the problems get a little harder. Okay, now we're going to do a couple more, but you can probably stop if you're understanding and work on your homework. But I'm going to do a couple from homework because those get a little tougher. I'm going to do, let's do this one. Okay, 2/15 divided by 1/6. And the hard part of this one is just the LCM. Common denominator. What is our common denominator going to be? Well, 15 and 6. 15, 30, 45. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. And 6 times 5 is 30. Okay, there it is, right there. 30. 30 is our LCM. Okay, so now how do we get there? Well, we're going to have to do it for both. Oops, I don't want to do that. We're going to times this by 2, because to get 15 to 30, we times it by 2. 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 times 5 is 30. And whatever you do on the bottom, you do on the top. That makes an equivalent fraction. 2 times 3 is, I'm sorry, 2 times 2 is 4. 30th, rewrite this. 5 times 1 is 5. 6 times 5 is 30. Okay, so we rewrote it, and we're going to go down and then over. Okay, so now we're going to divide across. Okay, so 4/5 over 30 over 30 equals 4/5 over 1, which equals 4/5. Can I reduce that? No. That's my answer. Alright, on the homework, sometimes you'll get an answer where you have to actually make a mixed number. So let me just, let's say 12/5. Let's say that's your answer you get. To make a mixed number, how many 5s go into 12? Well, 2. How many are left over? 2. And then how many is it out of? 5. Okay, then you have to ask yourself, can I reduce? In this case, no. Alright, that should be enough to help you through And this is division using common denominators.